Assalamualaikum and hello to Dr. Dennis and my fellow friends. We are from Group 11. So today we will be covering about physical activity and self-image, and this is our table of contents for the presentation. Therefore, I hope you lend your ears and give us your undivided attention. First, let's begin with the definition of self-image. So, what exactly is self-image? As you might imagine, self-image is related to what you see when you look in a mirror. However, it goes much deeper than that. Self-image refers to how we see ourselves on a more global level, both internally and externally. Self-image is defined as the organization of an individual perception of functioning and adjustment in different areas of his or her life. It is the way of a person feels about his or her personality, achievement, and value to the society, and will be a crucial aspect of an individual personality that can determine the success of relationship and a sense of a general well-being. It is also an internal dictionary that describes the characteristics of the self, including such things as intelligent, beautiful, ugly, talented, selfish, and kind. Next, I will talk about the differentiation between self-image and self-concept. Self-concept is defined as one's self-identity, a schema consisting of an organized collection of beliefs and feelings about oneself, and as a cognitive appraisal of our physical, social, and academic competence. It involves how you see yourself, how you think about yourself, and how you feel about yourself. We form and regulate our self-concept as we grow based on the knowledge that we have about ourselves. It is multidimensional and can be broken into these individual aspects. For example, you may have a different ideas of who you are in terms of your physical body and who you are in terms of your spirit and soul. So, self-image and self-concept are strongly associated, but they are not quite the same thing. In a sense, self-image is one of the components that make up self-concept. Furthermore, I will talk about differentiation between self-image and self-esteem. Self-esteem is defined as a global barometer of self-evaluation involving cognitive appraisals about general self-worth and affective experience of the self that are linked to these global appraisals, or the easiest way to say is belief and confidence in your own ability and value. Similarly, self-image has a lot to do with self-esteem. After all, how we see ourselves is a big contributing factor to how we feel about ourselves. Self-esteem is the overall sense of respect for ourselves and involves how favorably or unfavorably we feel about ourselves. Having a negative self-image can certainly influence self-esteem, and having low self-esteem is likely to be accompanied by a negative self-image. But they are at least somewhat independent self-aspect.
Now that you are aware of the definition and differentiation between self-image, self-concept, and self-esteem, let's continue with the psychology of self-image theory. One of the earliest mentions of any type of theory about self-image came from a well-known psychologist named Maurice Rosenberg. This theory states that self-image is based on our perception of reality. His 1965 book titled Society and the adolescent self-image was one of the first in-depth exploration of the concept, and it also provided one of the most psychology scales ever, the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale. The Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale is a 10-item self-report measure of global self-esteem. It consists of 10 statements related to overall feelings of self-worth or self-acceptance. There are two assumptions relies on the Rosenberg self-esteem theory. Firstly, reflected appraisals. Human communication depends on other people's perspective. Secondly, social comparisons. Part of individuals comparing themselves with others and making positive or negative self-evaluation. The 10-item Rosenberg self-esteem scale measures global self-esteem and remains the most widely used of all self-esteem measures. Next, the element of self-image. There are four elements of self-image consist of how you see yourself, how others see you, how you perceive others see you, and how you perceive you see yourself. Okay, firstly, how you see yourself. This element is important because it affects our self-image positively and negatively. Secondly, how others see you. You cannot control who will like you, who will judge you, who will love you, or who will be your biggest fan. Therefore, be proud of who you are and not ashamed of how someone else sees you. Thirdly, how you perceive others see you. For example, if you often have negative thought or perception about how others look at you, it will affect a relationship between you and them and vice versa. Lastly, how you perceive you see yourself. It depends largely upon how we envision ourselves in our own mind's eyes or how we think about ourselves. Stop comparing yourself to someone else or else it's pretty hard to like and respect yourself. This four type may or may not be an accurate representation of the person because it depends on the personality of that person. Moving on to the next point, we will talk about dimension of self-image. There are 6 dimensions of self-image which are physical, psychological, intellectual, skills, moral, and sexual. Firstly, physical. How you evaluate your appearance. Some people can easily accept the way they look, but some people feel the unnecessary pressure to look better and perfect. This will eventually contribute to positive or negative self-image. Second, psychological. How you evaluate your personality. In terms of psychological, the way we evaluate our personality will impact our daily activities and relationship with others, whether with family members, friends, or colleagues. Third, intellectual. How you evaluate your intelligence. There are two main ways that people think about intelligence. Common ways is fixed for each person. You get what you were born with. The second way to think about intelligence is that it can change and grow, just as you can build up your strength and endurance. Next, skills. How you evaluate your skills and technical skills. Social skills are the skills we use to communicate and interact with each other through gestures, body language, and our personal appearance. Then, moral. How you evaluate your values and principles. Values are beliefs, attitudes, and opinions that people hold regarding specific issues. Simultaneously, principles are fundamental truths that are permanent, unchanging, and universal in nature. And lastly, sexual. How you evaluate your fit into society sexual norms. All these six dimensions play significant roles in contributing to positive or negative self-image among individuals. These elements and dimensions offer a framework through which to view self-image, but this is not a known and widely accepted framework, just one of the possible ways of thinking about self-image. Now I will pass the presentation to our next presenter.
Next, I'm going to talk about difference between positive and negative self-image. Someone who has positive self-image always perceives themselves as desirable and attractive person, but those with negative self-image will think they are undesirable and an attractive person. Secondly, the way we evaluate our intelligence and smartness also contribute to positive and negative self-image. The keyword here is never give up. Thirdly, is seeing yourself happy and healthier is strongly essential. Happiness looks different for everyone. Therefore, choose to be happy to stay healthy because health is wealth. The ideal self can be defined as an idealist version of yourself created out of what you have learned from your life experience, the demand of society, and what you admire in your role models. However, if your real side is far from this idealized image, then you might feel dissatisfied with your life and consider yourself as a failure. As human beings, it is normal for us to be concerned about how people might think about us. Therefore, we must be aware of our thoughts, guide ourselves toward confidence-building statements. Obviously, if you want to be your best and perform at a high level, fear of people's opinion may be holding you back. Stop threatening yourself because everybody deserves to be successful. Next, I will talk about the importance of positive self-image. Self-image has a significant impact on your happiness in life. They have two sides of self-image, which is positive image and negative image. Positive image is enhance our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Somehow, negative image is decrease our satisfaction and ability to function in this area. It is important to have a positive image when you think of yourself. How you see yourself will affect your thinking, behavior, and how you relate to other things. Your view of yourself and your outlook on life can affect those around you. People respond to you either positively or negatively according to how you portray yourself. Your confidence in relationship depends on the image you have on yourself. If you present a positive image and self-confidence, people will be more likely to see you as a positive and talented person. A positive self-image starts with learning to accept and love yourself, and it also means being accepted and loved by others. However, if we fail to maintain a positive self-image, it will affect us psychologically and lead to negative body thoughts. Why is it important to have positive self-image? Let me clarify further. It is important in order to prevent distorted self-image and self-image disorder. That means having a view of yourself that is not based in reality. For example, maybe we think we are a bit thinner or heavier than we really are. But when your self-image is greatly detached from reality, it can cause serious emotional and psychological problems. All people have slight variation and detachment from reality. There is a disorder that centers on this distortion, which is body dysmorphic disorder. BDD definition is a psychiatric disorder characterized by a preoccupation with an imagined defect in physical appearance. The study run by B. Baker showed that most of the people who performed rhinoplasty surgery had BDD to improve psychosocial functioning. It proved that BDD patients focus on a particular part of the body and spend a great deal of time in front of a mirror checking their appearance and also have a poor quality of life.
Moving on, I'm going to touch on unstable self-image. Unstable self-image is related to borderline personality disorder (BPD), defined as mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problem functioning in everyday life. People with BPD mostly will experience a profound lack of self-image. They may feel like they don't know who they are, and their perception of their own identity may vary widely over time. They also might even have trouble seeing their past self, present self, and future self as the same person. This is known as identity disturbance, which is a markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. It involves your personality, thoughts, and feeling, and demeanor changing according to the context. Everyone does this to some extent, but people with BPD often find themselves exhibiting major shifts in identity. The symptoms that are associated with an unstable self-image and BPD in general, such as having an unstable or dysfunctional self-image or a distorted sense of self, how one feels about oneself, difficulty feeling empathy for others, then feeling of isolation, boredom, and emptiness. There are a lot of other symptoms that can be related to BPD. This disorder, if left untreated, can damage many different areas of an individual's life, such as depression, demoralized sense of self, and chronic self-harming behavior. Therefore, shouldn't those voices in your head that tell you your body is not right or that you are a bad person? So, is there any exercise that we can do to increase our self-image? As with most changes in the way we think and feel, there is no quick fix to improve self-image, but there are exercises that can help you increase your self-image. The first exercise that we can do is Troll Travels Who Am I worksheet. One of the best ways to work on your self-image is to gain some self-knowledge. Through this short exercise, you will get a better idea of who you are and what your qualities are, both good and bad, and you will learn which qualities you value most. Second, list things you love about yourself. Actively seeking out the positive in yourself will make it much easier to see yourself in a positive light. This is a simple exercise, but it can be very powerful. Third, list occasions where you overcome adversity. Write down the details of each occasion and use the written record to remind yourself of your strength, your resilience, and all that you are capable of. Fourth, list people who have helped you. Write a detailed account of how they help you and think about the good they must see in you. We all need a little help to get by sometimes, and it doesn't make us any less capable or valuable. In fact, depending on how you look at it, it might mean that you are even more valuable person than you thought. The last one is list people who you have helped. Write about what happened, how you helped them, and the ways they benefited from your help. Think about this important point. The fact that you can help others demonstrates that you are someone with value to offer others. The exercise list above will not solve all self-image problems, but they will help you to develop a more positive perspective of your life, and if you turn these exercises into habits, it will naturally raise your self-image to a whole new level. Now, we move on to self-image therapy. There are 4 self-image therapy. First is traditional psychoanalysis. In traditional psychoanalysis, the therapist remains as anonymous as possible. engaging in every little self-disclosure, if any, because the goal of psychoanalytic therapy is often to restructure personality rather than reduce symptoms. The process can last for several years. It is a long-term form of treatment that focuses on changing problematic behavior, feeling, and thought by discovering their unconscious meanings and motivations. Second is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It is a form of therapy that combines cognitive therapy that focusing on what people think and how to change the way they think with behavioral therapy, which is an approach that focuses on changing people's behavior more than their thought to try to change both thoughts and behaviors. Third is dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. It is a 5-component form of CBT that emphasizes the learning of new skills and strategies for a healthy and happy life. DBT skills are taught to help improving and regulating emotions, allowing for more tolerance of distress and negative emotion, allowing the person to be mindful and present within the moment, improving communication and the ability to interact with others better. Lastly is client-centered therapy. Client-centered therapy is a non-directive form of thought therapy. In this approach, you act as an equal partner in the therapy process, while your therapist remains non-directive, which they don't pass judgment on your feeling or offer suggestion or solution. This therapy will help the client grow psychologically, become more self-aware, and change their behavior through self-direction.
Thank you, Charlene. So I will continue and explain about physical activity. So what exactly is physical activity? Physical activity can be defined as any movement of the body that requires energy expenditure, and this includes any motion you do through the day excluding sitting still or lying down. For example, walking to class, taking the stairs, moving the lawn, and even cleaning your house can be considered physical activity. Performing physical activity on a regular basis will help to improve overall health and fitness, as well as decrease the risk for many chronic diseases. Exercise is a type of physical activity, but not every physical activity is exercise, because exercise needs planned, structured, and repetitive activity for the purpose of improving and maintain physical fitness. The next one is relationship between physical activity and self-image. So what is the relationship between physical activity and self-image? Firstly, the person who engages in regular sporting activities will display a more favorable self-image. For example, a person who participates in school sports programs, particularly in some form of team sports such as football, handball, or volleyball, will have a positive immediate effect on self-image. This is because of the change in body build, which will help in increasing muscularity for boys and reduction in surplus body fat, particularly in girls. Physically active individuals will exhibit less negative effect in terms of anxiety and depression. Individuals who exercise more are reported to have better relationship with parents in aspect of greater quality, increased touching and intimacy, and less depression. This is because when you exercise, your body releases the feeling that follows a run or workout is often described as euphoric. That feeling, known as a runner's high, can be accompanied by a positive and energizing outlook on life. Physical elements will be less prevalent in the exercising group compared to sedentary group. It is because it can reduce physical exhaustion and tiredness, thus help in improving self-image. Lastly, a person who regularly exercises will display lower addiction scores and less likely to smoke, consume alcohol, or take illicit drugs. They can fill their leisure time by doing physical activity and less likely involved in adverse lifestyle because it is uniquely dehumanizing condition by itself. Last but not least, the effects of physical activity on self-image. The effects of physical activity on self-image can reduce the risk of heart disease, diabetes mellitus, osteoporosis, high blood pressure, and metabolic syndrome. In a way, it will improve our quality of life because it prevents us from getting chronic disease. Physical activity also helps us to boost our mood and promotes healthier state of mind. For example, many types of exercise have mood-boosting benefits, especially if they involve being outdoors. Try walking, playing a team sport, or pumping iron at the gym. Physical activity enhances our body image and increase the level of body satisfaction. Physical activity helps us to be in good shape mentally and physically. When we participate in physical activity, it helps us burn calories naturally and it is much safer than taking slimming products.
In conclusion, everyone needs to feel good and be good in terms of self-image, which will help in achieving a safe and healthy lifestyle. Self-image is important because how we think about ourselves affects how we feel about ourselves. Moreover, it reflects on how we interact with others and the world around us. A positive self-image can boost our physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. On the contrary, a negative self-image can decrease our satisfaction and ability to function in this area. Therefore, it is undeniable that physical activity can be used effectively to create positive attitudes toward ourselves and healthier cognitive abilities.